How you guys doing? We're back. Okay, this is the second part. I kind of gave you guys the first part of pretty much the bigger 100 days recap of President Trump's first 100 days in office, and we kind of left off on me talking about Second Amendment in comparison to how the mentality of how people look at Doge and the purpose of Doge and how to actually equate how you should even utilize Doge information. That's the Department of Government Efficiency that Elon Musk was kind of heading and everything like that. And everybody went crazy off of it. But I wanted to kind of give you something that was more layman terms and to understanding why America should have been looking at Doge a little bit more intellectually than what they did. Okay. I left off by talking about the comparison of the Second Amendment and how the government manipulates your rights and make you be under the perception that you have freedom, but at the same time, those freedoms been taken away for probably about 70 years. So be realistic. I say almost about 100 years. I say about the 1930s is when they really took a lot of Americans' freedom, constitutional rights away. Like FDR, him and Henry Wallace, his vice president, they were really, really heavy. Look, I do a lot of data research and understanding stuff, and so I might look into things a little bit more like almost manic than I probably should. And President Roosevelt, and I gotta be right because it's Teddy Roosevelt and it's FDR, Frederick Roosevelt. So Frederick Roosevelt, FDR, pretty much what they call him. He was in the office. He was the longest serving president. Literally had about 3 to 4 terms, meaning like we're talking like 9 to 12 years in office, and he changed this country. It was, and like a lot of people say that Biden was like a horrible president. He was horrible to people that love their individual rights and their individual freedoms and their actual constitutional rights. He was horrible to our perception of him, but really for the agenda of liberals and socialists and progressives, Biden was better than even President Obama. He was more efficient and more actually purposeful to destroying the Constitution and making sure that there's not really a free country here anymore, and we're literally lying to ourselves and we're pretending like we really have anything to respect in this country. The, Biden you got to understand that a lot of the things that Biden did, it was President Obama's staff, like the people he trusts, the people that he mobilized, the people that he thought was very strategic, that came in to be administrators of Biden's presidency. So when Biden felt ill or he was going through some major faculty situations and psychological stuff was going on and physical stuff was going on with Biden, it was President Obama's staff holding down the country, pretty much running the country. You get what I'm saying? So President Obama was pretty much the president of Biden administration because most of Biden's things that he wanted to do is pretty much what President Obama wanted to do, and the things that even President Biden thought he was stubborn to try to fight his way away from President Obama's actual how can I say his actual policies and everything. A lot of President Obama's staff kind of, rejigged it or kind of reworked it, or at the same time, it pretty much, that, hey, we'll put your name on it, but it's really, President Obama's staff is your staff. You get what I'm saying? And the same policies that President Obama's wanted is pretty much what Biden wanted, but Biden went at it a little bit more old school too, where it was very dominant, socialist, governmental communist thought process of how he administrated stuff and manipulated the perception of what was going on and stuff like that. So a lot of that was things that I really feel like when Biden was on, when he was like his faculties was working, and when he was like really actually president and everything, he was aggressive. He was aggressive, and he was doing a lot of stuff that he learned in the last 50, 60 years of him being a government employee, senator, congressman. He put a lot of that metrics into how he ran the government. And when he wasn't on his stuff, pretty much the same policies and the same staff that President Obama would have validated and did validate and put into Biden's administration, they pretty much. So you got like, I'll really say it was about a 60-40. 60% of the time that President Biden was actually president, President Obama's staff ran it. And 40% when he was really sharp, he was on it. It was President Biden, okay, running it. That's a whole nother situation. We're talking about the 100 days of President Trump's pretty much first 100 days of being in office and everything like that. So I wanted to kind of give you guys a comparison to the Second Amendment, how it was really conceived of, and you can watch the first part where I kind of talk about that, how it was conceived and how it actually supposed to work, into how the perception, how that freedoms got taken from us by Republicans, Democrats, presidents alike. And now we're in a government that we under the perception that we have freedoms and we have our constitutional rights, but they put statutes are laws, in the books to every single state, every single city, every single pretty much citizen is under the gun of these statutes that congressmen, senators, white, black, Hispanic, they put these things in law, and they all came into agreement, put these statutes in law, and a lot of these statutes take away your freedom, constitutional freedoms, okay? So when you hear the Republicans talk about, oh, the Constitution is not a living document, it is what it is, you know what I mean? Their Republican policies, the statutes, the bills they pass are things that actually make it a living document, that they changed, and they say, oh, this we really, Second Amendment doesn't really mean that we need to be always prepared to fight our military, to fight our own government, and to fight any other exterior military government that may come onto our soil. It doesn't, Second Amendment really doesn't mean that. So we could take away the ability of American citizens buying tanks. We could take away the ability of American citizens purchasing F-18s. We could take away the ability of American citizens buying military armament that will actually secure the citizenry against the government militarial complex in exterior country, different countries' military coming onto the soil, like how England did when we were going through the Revolution War, or London or UK did when they were going through the Revolutionary War and stuff like that. But the truth of the matter is, the Second Amendment meant that you do any means necessary to protect your own doorstep, your own house, your family. You have the power, you have the freedom to actually protect yourself. You're not supposed to wait for 911. You're not supposed to be waiting for the system to save you, because the system will always be late, because when stuff is popping off, the system doesn't know until after the fact if someone reaches out to the system. So the Second Amendment was to make sure that you are your own security, okay? And in that situation, it was to make sure that under no circumstances, the people, the citizens are supposed to be somewhat cohesive, somewhat in agreement. If we have to bind together to overthrow a radical government, we have to have that ability to do that. But For the last 70 to 100 years, we've been taking that away from American citizens. Black Americans, white Americans, Republicans, and Democrats. They all did it. Okay? So when when you understand that, and I wanted to just use that Second Amendment as an example to show you that the freedoms that we have in our Constitution, they're being railroaded by statutes, by laws that congressmen and senators put in place. And I want you to understand black Americans have done this to black Americans. Okay? Meaning if our past and our historical um, situation in America is how it is, when we got freedom to secure ourselves from anyone that want to take our rights away, where it's our decision how much we want to protect ourselves. That's the limitations of our protection. When we decided to take our own freedoms of security away from America, any means necessary, freedoms away from black Americans within 40 years. We just really got our gun rights in like 1960s. And since 1990, black Americans, black senators, the black caucus has been trying to put laws into play to take that power and that freedom away from good, great black black Americans, great abiding citizens of the law, like very lawful and high integrity and lawful citizens, black Americans, black government employers, and the congressmen and senators been trying to really work hard to take away our freedoms, and we really only had the ability to truly protect ourselves in the last 40 years. Think of that. Think of that. That's how much out of the loop you guys are. That's how much you don't really, actually, I say 50, it was since like 1960s, 1970s. So was that 70, 80, 90, to early 2000, 2010s, 20. Yeah, so we almost at 60 years. So we only really had that freedom for about 60 years out of a country that's 240, pretty much 250 years old. So it just, when you look at that, American citizens, and I'm trying to find out where my eyes should go, so forgive me. When you look at that, black Americans, just like, it's common sense that President Obama was bad for us, President Biden was bad for us, and absolutely Kamala was going to be bad for us, okay? And this is just what it is. It's just what it is. Like I said, Let's Talk Human podcast is literally about not bullcrapping, for us to communicate and have things that we're talking about that will last forever, okay? And the facts are in, the data is in, what we know to be true. President Obama was bad for black Americans. President Biden was bad for black Americans. And absolutely, President Kamala would have been bad for black Americans. President Harris, okay? She would have been bad for black Americans. So when you look at that, 92%, I say 92 to 96% of black women voted for Kamala, and 87% of black men voted for Kamala. When you look at that, that's so destructive to ourselves, to our own rights and our own freedoms, that we're not even safeguarding our own rights. We're not even safeguarding. We came so far from the emancipation to Booker T. Washington to the fight of the NAACP head. What's his name? God, I talk about this man so much. But he's the head of NAACP. He was great. He was aggressive. He was like a Black Panther, but he was like a Black Panther in Booker T. Washington days, okay? I don't know why I'm forgetting his name. I can't look it up right now because I don't even have my computer or anything next to me. But anyway, the Civil Rights Bill to President Obama, to Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, to President Obama, and to know that we black men voted 87% for Kamala and 92% of black women voted for Kamala. The reason why I want to stick on this and I want to have you guys have this in clear understanding in this second part, because before I go into the understanding of Trump and how much black Americans should be highly supportive, 100% of us should be a supportive. I don't care how you don't like his bombastic attitude. You should be highly, highly supportive of President Trump. But you're not, so I want to communicate what you're not looking at. Okay? And I understand. I get it. I get it. I just want to have a conversation. Let's talk human, okay? So when you know that 92% of black women and 87% of black men voted for Kamala, you got to do the data now. How many black Americans is in America? It's 47 million. It's pathetic, but it's 47 million of us, okay? 92% of 47 million is about 20, it's about 21%, okay? Not 21, I'm sorry, not 21%, 21 million, okay? So let me say that again. 92% of 47 million black Americans, 92% of black women is about 21 million, okay? 87% of black men out of the 47 million black Americans is about 20%, okay? So when you put that data together and you're looking at 21 million black women and you're looking at 20 million black men, you're looking at about 41 million black Americans, okay? So the data says that about, maybe I got that wrong. Hold on a second. Let me make sure my data's right on this. So it's 47 million black Americans. If you were to divide women to men, let's say that roughly it's about 23 and semi change. That's half and half. It's actually really about 55 to 60% black women and 40 to 45% black men. But the actual number, I'm just going to be fair and just cut it in half, 50-50, okay? And that's 50-50 cut in half, we'll say about 43 million black Americans, 23. If out of 47 million black Americans, it's 23 million. If we put it in half, 50-50, that'd be 23 million black women and 23 million black men. 92% of that 43 black women is about 21 million black women. And 87% of the black men out of 23 million black men is about 20%. Not 20%, 20 million black men. You bring those numbers together, you got 40, 41. Okay, so that means about 6 million black Americans voted for Trump. Or they didn't even vote at all, or they kind of vote third party or something. I could say we got probably about 1 million black Americans voted third party. They didn't want to vote for either or. Okay, some stuff like that. So you got about, so will we actually know the data, no matter what we find in the data, it will absolutely 100% come up to that 5 million black Americans voted for Trump. Okay? That's out of 47 million black Americans. I know that's a lot of data, okay? So the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of people, they want to kind of pat black men on the back for voting 13% for Trump. You get what I'm saying? Or like I said, like a half a million to a million probably voted third party or something. But let's give it to them. About 5%, let's say about 13% of black men voted for President Trump, coming out to be about 3 million voted for Trump. 3 million black men voted for Trump all over the 50 states, okay? And for women, about 2 million women voted for Trump out of 23 million women, okay? So total of about 5 million black Americans out of 47 million black Americans voted for Trump. Okay? That's nothing to be proud of. It's nothing to be proud of. It's pretty pathetic. It really is. The honest God truth of the matter. It's really pathetic. So I wanted to bring that out because that mindset is in the conditions of what's been communicated to us. We look at news anchor people because they wear good clothing and they got good suits on, and then they get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to be on MSNBC or CNN, on our local news, on our favorite podcasters and social influencers. They got so much money and they so much presentation to them that we give them validity to the things that come out of their mouth, even if it's absolutely false and it's propaganda and it's not cool. To even just, you don't even have to know me to lie to me like that, to misguide me like that. It's not cool. Most black Americans, if you look at the numbers, it's the data. We're followers. We're like herd. We're like sheeps. We don't have any individual direction. You cannot say that we have independence in our thought process when the majority of us consistently, do you understand? 92% black women voting for Kamala, a Democrat, a liberal ideology, the liberal policies, the way that we think that they help us, has been going like that since 1970s. Okay? 87% of black men voting for Kamala. Voting for Kamala and having that liberal ideology and the thought process it is, it's been like that since the 1970s. So what do we know that's for sure? And I know no matter how much you guys do your research and you go look this up, you'll see that I am right, okay? You're going to see that about 92 to 96% of black Americans has been successfully, absolutely voting for Democrats, unstoppable, unmovable, very consistent for at least the last 50 to 60 years. Consistent. Hardcore consistently. You'll find that out. That 92 to 96% of black Americans been voting for Democrats, and Democrats' liberal ideological point of view, socialist point of view, communist point of view, however you want to look at the apples to apples of the thought process, how it plays out, and what's the cause and effect and the outcome of the thought process. You will find out that they've done that consistently, voted for that policy, fought for that policy, been radical, paid money, hundreds of trillions of dollars in order to play to the factor of the Democrats, liberals, ideological point of view, socialistic point of views, or the communist point of views since 1970. And that's about 50 to 60 years now, okay? That's consistent, 92 to 96%. Don't tell me that black Americans got a mind of their own. They don't. They don't. I don't care about the possible 5 to 7 million black percent of. I'm sorry, about the 5 to 7% of the black American population that might veer in options of a Republican or independent or some crazy stuff. It's irrelevant. Anomalies are irrelevant. I want you to hear me say this again, because I keep having this fight with people. Anomalies are irrelevant. What that means is the few that might go in a different direction, the few that might take the bait of growth and prosperity and more independence and all that stuff, that's an anomaly. Meaning it plays no factor to the bigger picture and what's most likely the outcome's gonna be. They play no factor. Doesn't matter if there's some good women out here that actually know how to team up with a man and follow his lead and ambassador his lead down the rabbit hole, no matter how dark or how great it gets or how good it gets or how bad it gets or how terrible it is. You follow that man's lead to the oblivion. It doesn't matter if it's a few women that knows that's most likely the best outcome for a family, a relationship, a marriage, or anything. So it doesn't matter if it's a few women that knows that when the majority is like, hell no. Do you understand that? It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter that men know that, dude, life is black and white. There's no gray areas. So any policies, any thought process that is bull crap and is gray area and is manipulating and the touchy-feely thing, we can't move like that because we got to have results. We got to have outcome. It doesn't matter if it's a few men know that. If it's a 13% men know that. If 87% of men, black men, say, we don't care, we're going with our emotions and we're going what our wives tell us to do. Well, you're like, hey, dude, the battlefield, there's people at the gate. You got to protect. You got to be black and white. Destroy the other side. Kids, women, whatever. You destroy the other side to preserve your side. Doesn't matter if the few, because they're going to get overwhelmed by the overwhelming power of the other side. So if the majority says let's self-destruct, let's be like pretty much mass unaliving themselves, okay? It's irrelevant what the little niche group says. I say that because the anomaly means the few. Okay? Okay? It means the actual out of norm group. Okay? So it doesn't matter if the anomaly sees it Trump's way or conservative way or individualistic or individualism or the constitutional individually rights. If it doesn't matter when the majority of the country is actually putting money, intelligence, intellectual, self-destructive, really kind of Taliban type of or suicide bomber type of stuff. I shouldn't say that because I might get flagged on that. But if they're putting that kind of mindset into their own, against their own individual freedoms, it's irrelevant how we look at this, y'all. Black Americans, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be. I'm gonna try to keep my eyes on the camera. You should be absolutely ashamed of yourself, Black Americans. You're smarter than this. You kind of know the pros and cons. You kind of know the cause and effect. You kind of know the overall outcome. How did you guys allow Doge, and it's a theory, that billions of dollars, like they always say about $250 billion every year, goes out to illegal immigrants, goes out to migrants that's not citizens yet. But to take care of them, because they're in the country, they've been in here since 1980s from the piece of shit presidency of Ronald Reagan. A lot of Republicans, they love Ronald Reagan. But if you go look at what his signature did, if you go look at what his policies did, I don't care about his conservatism, rhetoric, and his philosophical stuff. What did you do to the country? We're still trying to heal ourselves from decisions that President Reagan did. His decisions to intervene in Russia versus Afghanistan in the 1980s killed a lot of Americans in 9/11, in the Iraq War, and Afghanistan War. That's why those soldiers died, from the crazy, retarded stuff that President Reagan and the CIA was doing in 1980s. That's why 9/11 happened. That's why, like, the Iraq War is literally effects of the cause of what happened in the policies of Ronald Reagan in the 1980s. In addition to that, his terrible dealings with the Democrat Party for illegal immigrants in 1980, I think it was 80, 82, 86, the terrible negotiation, the terrible dealings of it destroyed our border from 1986 to now. A lot of the conversations and the different things that we're going through with, like, judges intervening and, like, a piece of crap, an illegal immigrant coming over the border, and then they say, "Oh, I claim asylum." A lot of the meat and potatoes and the strength of why we even have to even consider you came over the border illegally. You didn't walk through the front door and claim asylum. You came over an actual non-entry point into the country. I don't care what you claiming. You don't got no right to even claim anything once you come in over a riverfront or a fence or anything. If you're not coming through that front door, we don't even have to listen to why you're here and what you're doing and what's the situation you are. We could take you in and we could kick you right out. But some stuff that Ronald Reagan put has muddied the water in the court system and the judicial system and the corralling of illegal immigrant court situations, make it where we don't even know if we have the right to kick out an illegal immigrant coming over the border in a non-entry point. That's the conversation. A non-entry point. That's not the same as coming through the front door, coming through an actual immigration port entrance. Once you come over a fence, once you come through a water, once you come through the woods, once you come through the desert, once you come through anything that's not regulated as an entry point for illegal immigrants or border crossing, you don't have no rights. You don't have no consideration for anything. We grab you and throw you right back out, and we could do that at any given time. That's the law. But Ronald Reagan and all the other Republicans put in some muddy stuff where it makes us have to be humanitarians in some way, no matter how you come into the country. No, this is all illegal. And then you got judges. It's not even saying, you know what? Technically, they can't throw you out. They can throw all you guys out. Why? Because if your entry was not through an entry point, you're in trouble. But we're trying to fight each other on this. And then the reason why I bring this up, because Black Americans don't even understand the 20 million people that's been coming into the country since 1980s to 1980s to 2008. Because I'm going to tell you something about President Obama, too. 1980s to 2008. The 20 million people that's been coming in there since then. Radical Republican policies and deal making, and them just turning the other way. They just turning their head and say, I'm not looking. terrible, okay? Then President Obama comes in, and you got these crazy, dumbass Fox News people. And look, I only watch Fox News. So I'm about to say bad stuff about Fox News, but it's the only way you can see some of the stuff that's out there that's actually can be ingested for you to be able to comprehend it and apply logical objectivity thought process to. It's the only actual situation that's been given to you to be able to analyze it in a logical, objective manner. The way that CNN or the way that MSNBC, they communicate, they actually cut stuff out. They actually don't give you what actually happened, what was communicated, and then they say their point of view about it. They don't do that. They actually cut things out or show it to you. I'm only going to show you this part. We only want to show you this part. And it's just corrupt. But trust me, this goes to podcasters. This goes to social influencers. They all are trash. Fox News is probably the only place that's nationwide, that's accessible to every single human being, that is going to give you pretty much what happened, and they're going to give point of views on it, but you at least be able to kind of perceive, like, hey, you guys just talked about it like that, and you hypothesized it like that, and you came with the conclusion of it like that, but you just got to play in the clip, and that ain't what he just got to saying. At least you could do that when you watch Fox News, okay? Everything else, it's all bias. It's all bias, it's all shady, and it's all self-flagellant serving to how they want you to perceive what is going on. And look, I don't want to take up time talking about how shady our communication is in America, okay? We'll deal with that later. We're worse than Russia. We're worse than Russia. We're worse than like Iran. You get what I'm saying? And why are we worse than that? Because it's our actual right, and it's our actual policy that you cannot lie and you can't give false information to the public. And even as we put that into law and it's our constitutional rights, we somehow put statutes and all kind of other stuff in the midst of communications and laws and was allowed and all that stuff to make it where we act like we don't have the right to true information, true objective communication to us, that the media can do whatever they want to do. The news outlet, the newspaper, the whatever journalists, they can do whatever they want. They have the freedom to give it to us the way they want to. And that's not true. That's all illegal, okay? So Russia at least says, hey, if you're too broke to start your own stuff up, and we gotta be the funders of it, then we're gonna regulate it how we want to regulate it. China says that. I don't agree with it, but they actually got certain ways that people decide that they don't want to fund their own stuff, and if they want to fund their own stuff, they saying, hey, do you understand how the rest of the world is just trying to destroy us, and you're going to be in our country and be the minority, and you're going to kind of help them do it from the inside? No, I don't agree with it, but at the least, it's been communicated since the existence of Russia and China and Iran and Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia and all of it's been communicated that your point of view is regulated here in these countries. In America, we don't have no regulation on our point of view. Okay? The one thing we have regulation on is that we must communicate the truth if you are a news outlet. If you want to have the credibility of journalism approach, if you want to have passes to the White House or certain governmental communication outlets like the Pentagon's press room, the White House press room, the FBI press room, if it's anything that you need credentials to get into there in order to be able to communicate or record or give the information to the people, if it's anything that means that you have to have credentials in order to give the people the actual thing that was communicated through the press conference, what was communicated by the president, by the heads of the departments, that means you need to take that information, record it in full objective capturing, you communicate it to your news viewers or your audience in the same way that you captured it, and then you give your freedom of speech and your perceptions of what you think that meant and all that stuff. But it has to be communicated how it was communicated, not in abbreviations that you feel that's time manageable. That's how corrupt our country is. And that's why I say we're worse than Russia and all these other countries, okay? No, that was a lot. I'm going to end it with this one because it went 40 minutes and I was trying to keep it like in 18, 20 minutes and then do the certain parts. But this is going to be the second part of the 100 days coverage of it. And we're going to get into the next thing. I'm going to stop being philosophical about stuff. And we're going to kind of go into like just understanding what Doge communicated. And what I wanted to say, and I want to say this really quick. We been spending 250 million. I'm sorry. We've been spending $250 billion for the last 20 to 30 years. That's what I know for sure. Last 20 to 30 years on illegal immigrants, or at least migrants, or people that's here that needed assistance for living and all kind of stuff. They say that we've been doing this $250 billion a year. In order for you to know that, we got to look at all the actual funds that got sent out. The only way you could do that, Doge has to be able to look at the treasury and the actual how we send money out and look at the documents. But we got judges stopping it. Actually, the only person that can approve a department, any department of the government, to be able to look at all the data, everybody's social security number, everybody's data that shows how much money got sent to them by the government or took it in by the government and all that stuff. The only person that can approve that a government department can actually look at that data is the president. Not Congress, not judges. It's the president. If the president want to make sure that every dollar is spent well, is if there's no corruption, if there's no weird things that's going on, even if it's like people don't understand, we live in a society where the rights of the individual matters. Not what we all agree upon. The rights, what we agree upon has to be sovereign for an individual. So if something happens illegal to an American citizen, if American citizens get cheated or they get frauded on, or something bad happens to an individual American citizen, by their Social Security being used for something else that they don't know about, that the government used it for, to export funds into accounts and all that stuff like that, or a hacker or a scammer or whatever. That's an illegal transaction. That one transaction gives the right of the president to give the FBI, to give the actual CIA, to give a department of government efficiency department to be able to look at every dollar in and out of the government and how and what it was used for. The president has the right to monitor that and give a data report on that. Not for Congress to say, you can't ever look at the numbers. You can't ever look at the transactions. So how do this is the first time we're able to see something show us that millions of black Americans been getting spit on by other black American government employees in the name of bringing in the new Americans or some kind of weird repopulation situation going on. And we've been trying to figure out why y'all got the hood like this. Why in Detroit on Plymouth and Evergreen is dog shit, for 60 years? Why is it like this? Why in Chicago in all over the country, it's been consistently that there's no movement in this situation. And now you find out it's on purpose because they actually, we know this for sure. And if you go watch my other podcast, Individual Perspective Podcast, I have a, if you got to go to Rumble because it's hardcore. You got to look at my, I did a series called the Migrant, what I call it, the Migrant Paradox. I think it's like 3 or 4 parts to it. It's called the Migrant Paradox. And I actually show you illegal immigrants cross over the border, getting into the country, getting a job at a automotive place or construction place. They actually purchasing a house in Chicago, Ohio, or whatever the hell it was. They actually purchasing the house and they're illegals. I show you evidence of a lady that actually down on her luck because of business and transaction and funding is really crazy. So she had food trucks and multiple food trucks, but she said, hey, to kind of put more focus on the successful thing that she got going, she was going to sell one of the food trucks, and an illegal migrant came to her to purchase the truck. And the government gave the legal migrant the money to purchase it. No return. $25,000. She was shocked. So she called the number because the person said, hey, if you want to validate that, they're going to give me money to purchase your truck. She called the government account, the government information. They gave her confirmation that we're going to purchase that for him. And he's a legal immigrant. Crazy. So these are examples, but come on, y'all. Let's stop playing games. They're doing hundreds of billions of dollars to set these people up. Could you imagine if they did that? Like, okay, look, I'm gonna say this and I gotta end this because it's 50 minutes and I need to break this up and I need to be able to upload it. Debt. American citizens' debt is $1.1 trillion for credit cards and loan debts and stuff like that. And then it's another $1 trillion for student loans and stuff like that. The money we gave to Afghanistan, Iraq, Ukraine, our wars in Yemen, our attacks in Iran, our crazy, unnecessary guarding of South Korea against North Korea and all the 25,000 soldiers that we have over there and all the different people that we have scattered around the world guarding people and stuff unnecessarily, giving protection to other people's borders except ours. And the money that we spent on the legal immigrants and maintaining them and managing them and stuff. And just the last 20 years alone, and truthfully, if you look at the money that we spent on COVID in the most shady way, unlimited purchase of nightgowns and gowns and all this crazy stuff and all this unlimited COVID testings and sending out unlimited supply of COVID testings to pop up COVID testing zones and all this stuff. If you look at all the stuff in this state to state, giving them way extra money for them to just say, just in case something happens, here's extra funds for just to be able to be sovereign and for you guys not to fall through the cracks economically, your state not to go into poverty and everything. We're going to give you this $500 billion. We're going to give you this different states, all collectively emoji. When you look at all the trillions of dollars that's been spent in the last 5 years, let alone the last 10 to 20 years, you will see they could have just paid off all American citizens' debt. Every single one. Why? You're burning the money anyway. At least burn our money on us. I'll see you guys in the next one. This is the second part. And this is the coverage of the 100 days. And I'm trying to make you guys understand why you're kind of being dumb about how you move with Trump, okay? Your support should be high. It should be arrogant. And you should be dogmatic on the radical people that you guys are foolishly supporting. And you should support Trump and what he's trying to do because at least it's the truth. and it's telling you what it is. Okay, it's the second part of the coverage of the 100 days, first 100 days of President Trump's administration. And like I said, I have a first part. This is the second part, and we're going to go to the third part. See you in a moment.